Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Creature Commandos Podcast here on DC Studios Podcast. I'm your host, Andy B, as always, and joining me as my amazing co-host, Lip. Lip, how we doing today?
I just feel like singing to that Creature Commandos intro because that thing is so catchy.
hmm Exactly.
That
Uh,
song by Moliendo. It's called Moliendo Cafe by Hugo Blanco.
yeah, that. There we go. And then James Gunn has said there is going to be a playlist on his channel on Spotify for Creature Commandos. So if you guys are enjoying the music on the show, look forward to that. But guys, happy DC Universe launch day! Woo! We're finally here. It only took us one full year and two strikes, and we're here. We're finally here. I
I,
know.
f- I feel like Yelena Belova in Hawkeye right now.
Yes. Uh, I'm if anyone who checked out our advanced review, thank you so much, and I'm hoping you guys will stick around for this whole season. But first, let's do some a few news items. And so first, this comes from James Gunn himself, and so this was interesting because we know that in this in this crazy little world that is the DC Universe audience, there is a lot of scooping, a lot of misdirections about, uh, because there's always reports coming out about DC. Some of them are true, some of them are half true, and some of them are just completely incorrect. But recently on Threads, someone had asked. James Gunn about. I will actually read the comment. And to be fair, there are some bloggers and scoopers that do pretty solid track records, but the problem is that a lot of people will do believe whatever any random account that pops out of nowhere says. Seen so many of those, and I'm surprised every time they're taken seriously. Even more when they're wrong all the time, and people still spread their bullshit around. Also, disclaimer to our viewers and listeners: cursing is allowed on this podcast, and James responded with saying, "There is one scooper who is pretty damn good, I must say. I wish he didn't spoil stuff so much, but he definitely gets some respect for the amount of stuff he gets right. That said, he's still incorrect at least for 30% of the time." And who that person is up for speculation, and that just I just saw what you added the YOLO referred. Don't you're not you're one of the more the sane ones, so but no, but what is your, because we talk about this very often, when we're on air on other shows, and when we chat privately, that there's a lot of misdirection. There's a lot of misdirection with DC scoops in general. So what do you think about the fact that there is at least someone out there who is like seems to be getting a lot of this right?
Um, I think at least for me, from what I've seen and what we've discussed about this, um, I would put my hat in the ring to say that this is towards Nexus Point News, honestly, because they were the ones who got the Hal Jordan and Aaron Pierre stuff. I believe they also got it with the Sergeant Rock and Luca Guadagnino for Sergeant Rock film and Daniel Craig. I believe they were the ones who did the Craig Gillespie being the one to direct Supergirl. I feel like it's probably them, and it wouldn't shock me at all if that were the case. I mean, look, man, I'm not a fan of scoopers by any stretch of the imagination. Like you and I, when we become privy of certain things, we try our damnedest to like keep it very under wraps and very, if we were to tell anyone at all, at the very least, it's usually people we can trust. And that's what it is. It's about trust. And in this game, as we've seen over the years, you and I especially, like, we've been following productions and whatnot for at least I have for at least the last 10, 11 years. I think I started following productions closely around the time The Dark Knight Rises. And
That was my first movie too. Honestly, it started with The Dark Knight Rises for me, but then it got even more so with Man of Steel. Because then
right.
yeah,
And so when it comes to this stuff, you see, in today's climate, you see, those names. You see your RPKs, your Beyond the Trailers. You see your, ankler losers. You see, um, just people who are in it purely for the sake of being like, oh, see, I knew it, I was right. And it's like, congratulations, you're still an asshole. But with what they've done with Nexus Point News, I don't think they've ever, as far as I can tell, they've never been quite pretentious about it. They've always kind of, at the very least, with an asterisk said, take this with a grain of salt. It's not 100%. And then it does become, for the most part, confirmed by none other than James Gunn himself. And I feel like when it comes to this, hey, credit where credit is due. He's giving the right person he's giving them the credit where credit is due. He also reiterates that, like, I wish they wouldn't spoil so much.
Yeah.
That's totally fair too. But at the same time, it's about how you approach it. It's about how you go about it, right? Like, and I feel like a lot of these people who are in this game, they're purely in it for the monetary gain. They're in it for the notoriety. They're in it to say, oh, I was right. And you have these people who follow them who say, well, just because they didn't get this right doesn't mean their batting average sucks. It's like, no, their batting average does suck. You just don't want to admit it. And that's the part that kind of bothers me personally, is like, people will go tooth and nail to defend the likes of like Jeff Snyder, or people like, someone who works at the Wrap and used to run Heroic. You get what I'm getting at. Like, people will go to bat for these really slimy, disgusting people who don't really give a damn about fans at all. They just want that clout. And when it comes to, again, to something like this, hey, if James Gunn is anything, he's honest. And I know a lot of people like to call him a liar, which I think is a little unfound and unfair, because the thing is about this business is things always change, and things can change at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, I don't see people say, doing that to Kevin Feige. Like it's always been, and what I've noticed is, since James came on board, again, like, I love the fact that he is so interactive with the fandom. Kevin Feige is never on social media, and again, I'm not faulting him for that. Because I get it, he's very, very busy, but so is James. But I also think James is in a very different position, a unique position from what Kevin is, because Kevin is, he's a.
You want to know what I think? You want to know what I think? I think James Gunn, after spending a decade working at Marvel and even going through the firing from Disney and then getting hired back on to finish out the Guardians trilogy, he's literally witnessed how the Marvel machine operates. And when presented with the opportunity to do something similar to DC, he went, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to interact with these fans.
He's avoiding all the mistakes of the MCU and bringing over the string of the MCU with DC, but also, doing it in his own way. And, for me, like, as someone who's been a journalist now for almost 14 years, like, I have never wanted to be a scooper. If I'm anything, I'm an insider. I have, my many connections, with studios and networks and people who work on some of these movies and TV shows. And for me, like, I don't get, because the thing is, like, what some of these, like, independents, scoopers, whatever, trying to do, and so on, that they never go and confirm with the studios and stuff like that. They just they just run it as soon as they get it, and that's also even sometimes the case with trades. Like, you will see an article where it says, DC Studios decline comment, Warner Bros. Discovery decline comment, or whatever, and so on, and then. There will be other accounts out there. I know Nexus Point. I think I know they just they started this year, and I know they
at the very least within the last 8 months.
Yeah, and they and I know they're trying to reach out for comments, stuff like that, and then they don't hear anything, and it's because some of these studios and networks, they sit on their favors, they sit on their deadlines, and Hollywood Reporters and Varieties and stuff like that. Which I get it, they're trades, these have been around for decades. I completely understand that, but it is it has gotten really insane of how many people are now trying to take advantage of creating false rumors and stuff like that, and Like, and I feel bad that James has to spend so much time debunking stuff, and I agree with him that it would be fun if things didn't get spoiled, because, like we were talking on our advanced review, the reason he probably hasn't talked about Sergeant Rock, if that is true, is because it was probably a premature announcement. It was probably one of those things where they're like, they could still be in negotiations. There is maybe not a script even ready yet. It could be that they're discussing, and then things will. Look what happened with Josh Brolin for Lanterns. They said he had been offered the role, and then a week later it was like he has passed. And I think the reason why James didn't say anything was because he knew this is a discussion phase right now,
Yep.
and that's it. And I wish that people would understand that. Like, for example, like maybe the reason we haven't had a confirmation yet on the Teen Titans movie or the Bane slash Deathstroke movie, it could be that because those scripts are maybe not done, and they're not done yet, and that's why he probably doesn't want to talk about that. It could be the same thing for because even though the showrunner for the Blue Beetle TV show has like confirmed that he's working on it, James hasn't said anything because maybe it's just not time yet. Shoal has been talking about it in interviews and so on, but James has it because maybe it is not as much of a done deal yet. But yeah, it's interesting, like the people that because like there can be like there's that one random Marvel account, and I think it's like Marvel_news or something. They will post false stuff all the time, and their tweets just blow up, and I'm like, guys, you're just falling now for anyone with a big what has been hurtful to someone like me, for example, is like when I actually like debunk stuff from studios or the network and so on, especially with DC, I still see people questioning like who is this guy? He's just a dude from Screener. I'm like, but you're gonna believe a random Twitter account whose face you've never seen or never heard?
I can't tell you how many times I saw, and even on threads in the last year, because as I mentioned in our advanced review, like I'm not on Twitter, so I have removed myself from that whole sphere of bullshit, because that's exactly what it is. It's all bullshit. And I can't tell you how much regurgitated nonsense I see, especially about Marvel, in my thread stuff from people who are, pro Marvel, who are, anything MCU. They want to, get the news out. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen the whole, Scarlet Witch is getting a movie. Oh, Spider-Man 4 is going to be about this. Oh, Spider-Man 4 is going to be about that. The Fantastic Four cast is this before. How many Fantastic Four fan castings or rumored castings were there before Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Ebon Moss-Bachrach were confirmed to be the cast? At least 3 or 4 rounds went through the rumor phase of it, if not more. And it's just like, people take this shit at face value and they're like, oh, this is going to be great. And it's like, this isn't real fucking news. Like, what are you talking about? Why? Like, and the thing that really pisses me off about Spider-Man is like, this has been an ongoing thing since like 2022. And then finally, like a month and a half ago, Sony finally dated Spider-Man 4, and they said Tom Holland's coming back, and Destin Daniel Cretton is going to direct the damn thing, and Zendaya is apparently coming back. And other than that, there's no other confirmed news about this movie, but people are taking it to the bank of like, oh, it's going to be Daredevil and Kingpin, but oh no, it's not. It's going to be King in Black with Venom. I'm like, no one fucking knows what this movie is going to be outside of Kevin Feige, Amy Pascal, Destin Daniel Cretton, Tom Holland, and whoever else is working on that damn script, i.e. Eric Summers and Chris McKenna. And that's the thing that really bothers the hell out of me, is like, people will go and run with any of this nonsensical bullshit that my time to shine, hello, or fucking can we get some toast, who's no longer active from what I've seen. They probably got subpoenaed to hell by Disney.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, and if there's people at you can tell there's people at Marvel Studios that are definitely not doing their jobs because they're feeding information to somebody's account. And, and I'm hoping that this will not be a trend with DC, that we're like, someone, people are, breaking the rules, and they're breaking confidentiality and giving information, stuff like that, which, because I want that, because we were talking about this on the last episode, which was that it feels like since James Gunn came on board with Peter Safran for DC Studios, there feels like stability now, actually. Like, it's, he's talked about many times that unless a script is finalized, we're not going to move forward until it's been perfect.
Right. We are not going to green light anything until a script that everyone is happy with. And people took that out of context. It's like, well, wait a minute, you announced this and this in January of 2023, and I'm just like, okay, there's a big fucking difference between an announcement and being greenlit. And a lot of people seem to think that the two coincide. It's like, no, that's not how this works. But no, some people just want to attack James Gunn just for the absolute shit.
Yeah. And I know, even like, for us too, we're we're big parts in the Snyder fandom. There's a lot of people who who are angry. People who are Snyder fans, those are the ones that probably would fall into like that Snyder cult as like categories that they will fact check everything now that James has ever said, and like say, oh well, they're trying to get a gotcha moment,
Yeah.
and it's just it's getting tiresome, and I'm over it. And yeah,
you mentioned like there are people who are hard fans of what Snyder was doing and had his universe got the chance to do what it did. We wouldn't even be in this position. We would be in this position, but by way of a different way, because his universe would have wrapped the way it had, and we'd be in reboot mode where we could be now in a much more cleaner spot. But circumstances aside, I know people who are rightfully bitter about not getting what they wanted, but at the same time, those same people aren't sitting on social media battle crying 24/7 for this shit.
exactly.
They've taken a step back. They're like, I've seen what James Gunn can do. I'm not really interested. If I catch it, I catch it. If not, no big deal. But my fandom was here and it's not now. I've been burned too many times by WB. It's not even necessarily even on James Gunn for them. It's more so on Warner Brothers, which is totally understandable. But then, of course, you've got those lunatics on social media, constantly bitching, constantly crying, constantly being like, restore the Snyderverse, but we hate you. It's like, you're going to say you hate the guy, but then turn around and ask him to give you the thing that you want.
Yeah, it's almost like don't bite the hand that's feeding you. Like,
right.
And again, like, Zach is, he's doing well, with his other project right now. And I think he, I don't really think he wants to do anything decent for the time being. So it's, again, like this is why I'm again like this. This is happy DCU launch day, and I'm glad that James Gunn is he's being very candid about these things. Another thing to discuss before we get to the actual episodes is so CCXP is coming up very soon, and while James said he's not going to be at DC at CCXP because again I'm sure he's busy with post-production on Superman and on now Peacemaker season 2, which is there was so again he hasn't shared it yet, but I'm gonna throw this up on screen. And there is an artist who says that there is going to be an exclusive Superman poster at CZXP that looks like this, and essentially it is David Cornswell's Superman catching a train, and he said it's going to be available. It's by George Quadros, I think is how you say it, and then colored by Cleaver Santos. And this looks, I mean, even if it's not official for the movie, this looks sick because we know there is a newspaper headline in the movie that we've seen through set photos where Clark is seen like stopping a train, and I mean this looks pretty sick. And I'm hoping this is official and confirmed because this, that James will post about it soon because this. I mean, I always a classic Superman thing is when he catches a train.
Mm-hmm. There's the old saying, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive.
Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Truth, justice, American way, all that. Yeah.
So it's pretty sick.
It's really good looking art. Like I'm not really a huge fan of the suit. I've made that pretty clear. Like I don't think it looks that good, but I think this is a good piece. I think this art is great. I think this is a really good showcase of what this Superman can do in action. I think it's more than likely probably going to be a CCXP exclusive, which is cool. Every con has exclusive merchandise. It's pretty par for the course these days. And there was that little snippet that was going around the time they were filming the film that he stopped a locomotive, which this is very evocative of. I think that's also a smart way of just marketing your movie without showing anything particular from the movie itself.
Yeah, it reminds me. Do you remember when that first teaser for Man of Steel was being shown? But there was like two versions of it, like one with a Jonathan narration and one with a Jor-El narration.
Yes.
And it kind of reminds me of that. Which depending on what theater you were in, either you heard Russell Crowe talking or you heard Kevin Costner talking. I think my theater that I was in, I think I got Russell Crowe. But then when I got home, that's when I heard this go like, oh wait, there's two of them.
I'm trying to remember because I got it in front of Dark Knight Rises. That was when they showed the initial teaser for Man of Steel was in front of the Dark Knight Rises. And I distinctly remember, it might have been Jor-El. It might have been the Jor-El one. And they also, to separate the two, if you got the Jonathan Kent one, you got a little bit more of Clark in Smallville and growing up. And then I think with Jor-El, it was a little bit more of Krypton and a couple other things. But both teasers ended with all you see is just Superman flying into the sky, and you hear the sonic boom noise. Like that's how it ended, and you just get Man of Steel summer of 2013.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, that's how it shows.
Yeah, it was pretty sick. Yeah, no, it would. Man, those were good. It's gonna be fun going back to those now, to those days.
Well, I guess
you.
Can we maybe address the rumor of whether or not that trailer is going to come out? I would have to imagine
so
that
Collider Collider's reported that the trailer is supposed to be showing up in mid-December. If it's true, of course, we're gonna do a breakdown here on These Studios podcast. I will definitely try and see if I can get Vanessa on too, so we can discuss it, because it is also filmed in her hometown, Cleveland. So she's gonna be excited. She's she was very excited when those first set photos from Cleveland coming out. She was like, "I'm at my hometown." So, but with that said, let's begin the discussion of the DC Universe first product, Creature Commandos. So this recording will be covering episode 1 and 2, the Collywobbles and the Tourmaline necklace.
Collywobbles and the Tourmaline necklace. Yes.
There we go. I will leave the title pronunciations to Lip, because I can't speak shit, which is exactly what you want to hear from a podcaster. Saying that he can't speak. So we open up with we get the introduction to some of these members, because they have to come together, because the Sons of Themyscira, under the guidance of under the leadership of Cersei,
which is hilarious.
It's going after Pugilistan. The Sons of Themyscira. We know what this is a reference to. We know who they're making fun of. We can't say it on YouTube, but we know.
Pretty obvious, yeah. Like if let's just put it this way: if you lean a certain way politically, and you watch the show, and you see who the Sons of Themyscira are very clearly inspired by, you're probably going to get a good chuckle. If you lean another way, you might have a similar response to The Boys season 4, in which you were very angry and mad. And
or the people who hate She-Hulk who watched the final episode, and they're like, "Wait a minute, is this show about? No, wait, what is it? Maddie says in Euphoria, is this fucking play about us? Like, isn't that what's happening?" What do you think of this twist that they're going after the princess, and these are the villains that we're dealing with?
Well, let me just get this out of the way right now. The actress who plays Princess Ileana, Maria Bakalova, she can get it. I'll just put it to you that way. I love that princess. Even we'll get into more of her later, but I think that it's interesting to have an antagonist who, in a way, kind of hails from Themyscira and, is an antagonist of Wonder Woman. But the thing is, since Themyscira is a woman-only island, it's kind of par for the course for one of a defector to be like, "Oh, women aren't allowed. Well, guess what? I'm gonna line up.
I'll show you.
I'll have a whole army of men at my disposal. How do you like them apples?" And I'm sure Hippolyta and Diana are probably like, "That's cute," but it's an interesting bit. But I also really love that what we're seeing of these Sons of Themyscira kind of assaulting Pokolistan and seeing all that happen. Like we're seeing it and witnessing it with Rick Flag and Amanda Waller, to the point like even Rick Flag is like, these guys are a bunch of clowns. And I laughed, because that's one of my go-to words anytime I feel like insulting someone. I'm just like, you're a fucking clown. Like, what can I say? Rick Flag Senior fucking knows what's up. Okay. But I love that Amanda Waller's response to this is like, well, the United States of America is an alliance with Pokolistan, and well, true friendships are built on petroleum deposits. And I'm just like, oh, if that isn't capitalist, I don't know what is.
Oh, Amanda Waller in a nutshell.
I love Amanda Waller. I think in our advanced review, I didn't really talk too much about Amanda Waller that much, but bringing her up in this episode, just bringing her up as a general character, I did mention that I've read Ostrander's Suicide Squad run, and she's a very prominent figure in that run, and she's become a very prominent figure in a lot of DC stuff. Like, she had a very prominent role in the Justice League show, voiced by the one and only CCH Pounder, who reprised the role on a multitude of levels in a multitude of different projects following that. She's amazing. I love.
She's the Clancy Brown for what I'm to
for sure.
Amanda Waller, essentially.
And even for a long time, I was like, if Amanda Waller ever gets brought into live action and you wanted to do an older version of her, I was like, just cast CCH Pounder.
We were hoping for that in Arrow season 2 when they were bringing in Amanda, because we knew that those showrunners were like huge fans of the DC animated stuff. Like, I'm like, come on, bring on CCH Pounder, it's time.
But to her credit, though, Viola Davis is an amazing Amanda Waller. I remember when she was cast for Suicide Squad way back when, I was like, oh, that's perfect. There's no notes. Fine. She's going to knock it out of the park. And to her credit, she's now one of the few characters who has been carried over from the DCEU into the DCU for good reason. And she continues to just bring this malevolent force of like, you either work for me or you die. Straight up. Like, I love that Amanda Waller is that boss of the DCU. And to me, Amanda Waller is Viola Davis, and Viola Davis is Amanda Waller, even though obviously she's played other roles as well. But to me, like, if it isn't CCH Pounder, it's Viola Davis.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I love that we're still seeing her like in the here in this franchise. And again, guys, I'm also wondering what things are going to be different now, because I'm assuming that Black Adam is definitely not canon to this. So that means that she probably never ran the JSA, which honestly, like, I love the Black Adam movie really much, but the fact that JSA was working for the government, I hated that aspect. So if that means that now she's relying on teams like Creature Commandos, I love that a lot more. And like, see, again, I love the timing of the show coming out, because the election has gone a certain way, and now we're seeing some of those people being made fun of, and I think that's it's again, it's definitely a little, it's cheeky, in a good way, because because I think that when James Gunn wrote the show, I mean, he didn't know how things were going to end, but the fact that it's arriving now almost a month after the election is
pretty good irony.
It's pretty good irony.
Yeah.
But yeah, the team gets assembled and they get ready to, they head out. And again, it's,
I do love that when they're walking through Belle Reve and Flag is like, I thought the government put an end to all Task Force X activity, especially after you've been outed. And she was like, they said we couldn't use humans. These assholes aren't human. That was just, lovely line delivery by the one and only Viola Davis. And I love how they introduced.
She gets to be funny, which is like, I never thought Amanda would get to be funny, because either she's yelling or she's like very calculating. But here she gets to be like fun and witty, because I think when you get someone like Viola Davis and an Academy Award winner, like use her abilities for anything you can.
All right, let's go down the list. So we have the Bride, first and foremost. We have Dr. Phosphorus, Weasel, G.I. Robot, and of course, Nina Mazursky. And when mentioning Weasel, Viola Davis mentions that Weasel's the only character that survived Project Starfish, and you can see this visibly agitates Rick Flag Sr. because this is the same project in which Rick Flag Jr. died on. And it's really funny the way they animated this, too, because you don't see the top half of Amanda Waller's face. You just see her mouth express the fact that, like, yeah, I'm sorry, your son died a hero in this, in this project, in this mission, knowing damn good and well that, oh, no, Peacemaker killed him, and it was by your orders to an extent. So if he ever finds out that you're the one who effectively made that call, he's not going to be happy with you. So I think the way they animated that was actually very meticulous and very on purpose, and I really appreciated it.
Yeah, no, because we know that eventually, Rick is gonna go over to Peacemaker season 2, and it's obviously because it's gonna be in relation to his son's death. Yeah, like when I talked to Frank earlier, that was something we were discussing about the fact that, like, are we gonna see more of him and his son's relationship, through flashbacks, and he wants to work with Joel Kinnaman, and I'm hoping that they do somehow, because by default, Joel Kinnaman is now canon to the DCU. So
Right.
it kind of now we can really recast him, which it sucks. But hopefully, at least Frank and Joel will get to work together on screen. But yeah, I mean, we're following all these characters. First of all, like Nina is like. First of all, I'm like, what is Nina even doing here? Like she this girl is too sweet to have gotten stuck in like as a prisoner. Again, we and G.I. Robot, like I just. It's just again, I mean, because Sean Gunn can do a lot of voices, but like this is, but I love that he's made it so different. It doesn't even sound like Sean Gunn, and that's, even though it's a robot, he's a very, very advanced robot. Like, but it's like even like his wit comes off as very, human sassy, which I think is very cute. Dr. Phosphorus is. I mean, he is so chaotic because he's like, he doesn't look like I'm smiling, but it looks like I'm smiling, but I'm actually not. So, you never know what he's actually thinking or feeling because you can't see his face.
I like to think that Dr. Phosphorus is perpetually smiling sarcastically. That's kind of my takeaway from his character. And it's even funnier because like when the initial promotional art for Creature Commandos was released, the energy surrounding Dr. Phosphorus was actually orange, and they updated it to being green.
Yeah, I didn't, because I remember there was that first image we got last January that went out. And yeah, that's thing. Sometimes things change, which is that's perfectly fine.
I also read that they added like the Kirby crackle to his animation, which I thought was actually pretty cool.
The what crackle?
So in comics, when Jack Kirby was doing, be it DC or Marvel, he has this effect or an ability. He, at least from where his art stood, like if you saw like a boom tube, if you saw like energy come from Darkseid's eye, or energy blast from Galactus being executed, there were these, the way Kirby drew it almost felt like it was like an energy crackling. And it's very well done in the Snyder cut of Justice League when Steppenwolf comes out of the boom tube. The boom tube is like it's like a cylinder, but it's crackling a little bit. The same deal is with Dr. Phosphorus. His energy kind of crackles when he pulls his hands, and just in general, like it's a thing. It's a thing in comics.
Okay, there we go. We get to Pakistan, and we meet the princess and her guards.
Okay, you'll appreciate this. When I saw these guards, I was like, these look like Yu-Gi-Oh card characters in the armor. They look like...
I'm thinking back. I'm going back in my archive in my brain. Yeah, you know what? A little bit. Yeah. Actually, no, I see it now. I love that. Like Ilana is she's so smitten by Rick. Which again, I mean, listen, when I watched the episode at first, I was like, "Girl, I don't blame you, because if you look like Frank Grillo, like I would also be feeling something too." Yeah.
Watching this episode, I think I even said it on the last one on our advanced review. I was like, I can see these actors as if they were like actually there, and it's like you can see Maria Bakalova and Frank Grillo just, there's tension. They make it work. If you get what I'm throwing down.
No, yep.
Let me put it this way. If there was ever a Creature Commando, if they did this as a movie with the same people, I wouldn't complain.
I mean, I really hope we do. This is the thing that, like even in these first two episodes, because that's what we're discussing here. Like it already left me wanting to see them. Like, I want to see these characters in live action as soon as possible. Again, I mean, some of these actors. I mean, David Harbour is booked up like,
oh yeah,
until whoever knows. But yeah, I love that. I love the fact that these are characters that you kind of fall in love with very, very quickly, to the point where you're like, yeah, like, because I've seen so many people kind of looking at Creature Commandos as like, ugh, why are we starting with this? Ugh, what do I have to watch to get into the other stuff? But like, I think, again, and this is why I'm really excited to see, this on this Thursday, how people are going to respond to these characters. But yeah, like
You know what I
Ilana
also
really.
love? I
What do you
love
love?
that the bride is so fucking sassy as well in this first episode. Like when kind of jumping around here a little bit towards the end of the episode, she decides to like jump out of the window and walk down and basically kind of go back to where she was, because it's revealed in this episode that she was in fact, like, this is where she was created. She was created in Kolistan, and she bangs on the door to be let out of the castle grounds, and she says something to the effect of like, I don't need a schedule, so Douchelot, open the freaking door. And then she demands money from him. Like, I love her whole just I don't give a shit demeanor, and I think it's an interesting play of a character, because obviously this is a character who has some very tragic upbringing, as we will get into. But
Mhm.
I would also just love to see this character brought forward in live action, because I am a fan of Indra Varma. She was in Obi-Wan Kenobi. She plays the girl who helps him, I think, in episode 3. She's also in Game of Thrones. Very interesting, great actress, and I would love to see her in all bride makeup with the hair up and everything. Like, I would love to see that. But just in this show, it was talked about that she kind of was the main character that we were going to follow through the series, and I kind of disagree with that a little bit, as to not jump too far ahead for the rest of the season. But you really don't necessarily follow her all the way, but like, you follow all of them, if that makes any sense. But
Yeah.
behind GI Robot, she's definitely probably my second favorite.
Yeah, mine, I mean, she's definitely my third favorite because because I love Nina so much. And I love that, this little reluctant sisterhood that's going on between them. Because
Yep.
she's like, because for Nina, I'm betting that Bride is like probably like the coolest girl she's ever met. And she's kind of, like, she kind of, she goes with her. And I know I saw you wrote in the document, grow a pair fish. That I'm like, damn, Bride does not hold back.
No.
And again, we love that again, this is why I love that there are these lovable characters that we're already wanting to invest, we're investing time into, and I'm hoping that this is how. I'm hoping that when we get to the end of season 1 of Creature Commandos, that we don't have to wait too long to find out when we're going to see them next, outside of Rick. And we don't, and Amanda Waller, we don't know where the rest of them are going to show up.
Right.
And we get to, of course, we have the huge fight between Flag and Phosphorus. And this is Lip was alluding to in the last episode. And this is where, like, I feel like the animation really starts to shine a
Yeah.
lot to, from other animated shows, where like it doesn't feel like typical superhero comic book fights that we've seen in animation, because this feels like it's almost like seeing like a concept of what they want to do in live action. It's like an advanced storyboard format that is, again, it's colored, it's framed, it's shadowed and everything. And I'm like, damn, like, this is why I understand. This is one of those moments where I understand, like, why the show took so long to come out. Because because people say, but like, what, 7 episodes animation? How long can that take? Like, well, because
Quite a while.
they've put in a lot of time and energy and resource into perfecting the animation.
Yeah, and this fight in particular, you don't really see too much of it in animation. I think one that definitely comes to mind immediately, at least recently, is probably the alleyway fight in Chinatown and Batman: The Long Halloween Part 1. That one kind of comes a little close in terms of execution, in terms of animation, in terms of fluidity. But even before that, like, you really don't get a lot of this ever showcased. And I think we even mentioned, like, the fact that Bobby Pills did this. It's a French
Mm.
animation studio located in Paris. I would certainly hope that this puts them on the map for more future DC stuff, because again, I want to see more DC projects in this animated style. Like, I think it's a really good fit for this universe, and I think just this fight in general was just really well done. And it also shows that Rick Flag isn't afraid to throw down with some fucking metahumans and whoop some ass
In white
like
undies.
in white undies. That's right, in white undies, and still managed to, like, he fought a nuclear powered metahuman and whooped his ass. Like, do not fuck with Rick Flag Sr., dude. He will give
Mhm.
you the can of grandpa ass whooping if need be. And I love
Yeah.
it.
I love it too, and I again, this is why I'm excited to see like how he's gonna function in in other projects because again, like if this is gonna be like our Nick Fury of the DCU, and then I'm like, because I mean, like, and there's no fault to Samuel Jackson, but we haven't, Samuel Jackson as he's getting older, he hasn't he hasn't been able to do a lot of the physical stuff anymore as Fury because,
What, you didn't like Secret Invasion? I'm sorry, I couldn't. Yeah, that's right. I made it funny.
I hate Secret. What a waste of my time.
I am disappointed that the finale fell as hard as it did.
I'm disappointed that the show even happened.
I'm not disappointed in this show though. This show delivered.
So the episode ends with Nina and Brian arriving at the castle, and that's when someone is looking over the castle and informing Mr. Eric Frankenstein that the bride has returned, which takes us into episode 2 called.
Just real quick though, I think in terms of a first episode, right? Like this does exactly what it needs to do, but it's got charm, it's got great animation, it shows you who these commandos are, it shows you the premise of the story. They're sent to Pokolistan to protect this princess from the inevitable invasion of the sons of Themyscira by way of Cersei, and we're just like, we see that Ileana is smitten with Rick Flag immediately. We see Weasel being Weasel, pissing on fucking chairs and shit, and catching bones like a dog, and
licking soldiers,
taking soldiers out in the woods, maybe biting their necks. Fucking who knows. And we even like get a little bit of info dump from Rick Flag of like, I joined the United States military to take care of my kid, and then when he was 18 he joined to protect his country, and then he fucking died, and my wife was like the least favorite thing about that 25 years of capitalism that I kind of enjoyed but don't. And it's just like, man, I feel for Rick Flag. I do.
Yeah.
But
but going to episode 2 titled
The Tourmaline Necklace.
There you go. Words are hard for me. So
yes, they are.
The journalist said out loud, this episode is really very much about the origin story of the bride, and it's disgusting. Not because of her, but because of these fucking men in her life.
Yeah.
I'm like, bruh. And what stood out the most about her backstory?
I think for me, it's this concept of like, being familiar with the idea of Victor Frankenstein creating Frankenstein's monster, and having that knowledge from those Universal films, and also even the original film The Golem, that in which the Frankenstein's monster is loosely based off, but also the old story. Like, to me, like when I saw the episode open up with those human body parts, and just like to see that, and to see like Eric Frankenstein, the monster, just be brutally mad and angry of just like, why do humans have it so easy? Like, I want my happiness. I want my bride. Like, he's literally forcing Victor Frankenstein to make a bride.
If only he knew, because we don't have it that easy.
If only. And like, it's just like, I don't know, like to your point, like the shitty men in her life kind of informed her view on the world, but also the way she was even created informs her view on the world. And even like the way Victor Frankenstein explains it to Eric Frankenstein of like, when a child is born, they spend 9 months in the womb, and that connection to their mother is their tether to the world. What's happening here is not close to that at all. This is literally creating something from nothing, and then having an awareness and being like, oh fuck, what is going on? And you literally have to teach this being how to be human effectively, and it's not going to be easy. And Eric Frankenstein is just trying to rush Victor to be like, hurry up, give me my bride, I want to be happy. And it's like, dude, feelings don't fucking work that way. But the thing is like, I love that David Harbour is so well constructed in terms of the way he's delivering his lines, and the way he's going from like effectively a man-child to a raging monster all in one. And I think that David Harbour doesn't get enough credit for that in a lot of other things that he's done too, even though in Stranger Things he doesn't really play that. He plays a pretty straight-laced sheriff. But in Black Widow, he plays Red Guardian, and he's going to reprise that role later on next year in Thunderbolts. But I think David Harbour is just an excellent choice to be Frankenstein, and I hope, like in the event he ever gets the chance to play the character, like please, yes, more of him, because he's a very tragic character, and we'll see more of him later for sure. But here, he really does play the monster part well, and he's like very demanding of what he wants from the bride. And I love that, you know, through the episode, we get like the flashbacks of like how the bride learned to speak, like her relationship with Victor Frankenstein, how all of that inevitably goes up in flames, pun intended. And it's just like, I don't know, like there's so much tragedy there. And I'm like, okay, as much as I criticize James Gunn's humor, I will give him credit where credit is due. The man can write tragedy.
Yeah.
He's
Oh yeah.
always been great with tragedy. I mean, look at Rocket Raccoon. Look at what he did with Peter Quill's mom and Guardians. As much as I don't like the movie, Guardians 2, and even Guardians 1. Like the man can do tragedy, and I will give him that credit. And the bride's story is very tragic. Like they're all tragic, but man, the bride's is, I wouldn't say the most tragic, but definitely up there in terms of like, you know, I kind of understand why she'd spend the rest of her life just trying to get away from this. Effectively, it's like an abusive husband, more or less. Like the relationship she has with Eric Frankenstein is kind of like that in a way.
It's an abusive stalker, and then
There
you
you go,
also have, you know, because you can very much look at Victor as like her father. You know that it's her creator, it's her father, but he ends up, you know, fucking her, like, you know, that, which is like, you know, that's why you know, I root so much for Bride. And you know, like, yeah, as much as I, like, you know, I chuckle here and there at Eric, I'm like, I mean, he's a lonely loser who needs to, you know, like, he doesn't, you know, he needs to learn that his actions are not okay. And it was fun seeing like the time periods of how long they've been around and how much he's been following her around the world. And so it and no, it was fun. And but in present time, um you know, because Frank, you know, and Rick is still like pissed off with Dr. Phosphorus, of course, and eventually they find out that, oh, Nina and the bride, they have left the castle, and he's like, the fuck, you're not supposed to leave. And you know, and then we see, you know, we start to see, you know, at the castle, you know, the bride is like you know, reliving her past, and Nina is like getting closer to her, and then but then
She's
eventually
trying to. She's trying
she's
to get
she's
close to her.
trying to. Yeah, I don't know if she succeed, but I don't know if anyone can succeed in getting close to Miss Bride. But then, of course, what happens? It is Cersei appears at the match, and she starts, you know, going the fuck after Bride and Nina.
Well, she gets word from the Sons of Themyscira that like, oh, excuse me, she gets word that, you know, from her followers that like, yeah, these two are in Frankenstein's castle, and she's like, oh, okay, just give me an address. While she's like having a drink magically float to her so she can finish it while she scarfs down her food. And then, of course, like she just goes ham on this whole fucking castle, and her followers, like, you know, they break into it. And one thing I actually love also in this episode was the bride just whooping ass and taking names and beating the snot out of these Sons of Themyscira, and like taking a safe door as a shield and throwing them around, and like taking her jacket, whipping around some guy's head and throwing him into a wall. Like, again, the animation in the show is just fucking top tier, top notch.
Yeah, it's some of the best, you know, DC animation we've seen, you know, and like what they've done in the animation since I feel like since Young Justice, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
like, yeah, like, and I'm saying that in comparison, you know, like with the other DC animated shows and movies that have come out since Young Justice, I felt now like Creature Commandos is standing out. And you know, again, it's like the fact that we're getting, you know, you know, and there's more fights to come, guys. You know, there will be lots of cool things coming on. And now, like, because I've never really seen Cersei in outside of DC Universe Online. How familiar are you with her?
So she was in an episode of, I believe it's Justice League Unlimited, and it's the episode where she turns Wonder Woman into a pig, and the only way to get her to turn back into a human, she tells Batman, you have to sing. And that's when we get Kevin Conroy to sing his beautiful vocal cords to save Wonder Woman. That is the one time I distinctly remember seeing Cersei in another DC adaptation. She is played by Anya Chalotra, who is when this casting happened, I was like, oh, that's probably going to piss off some Henry Cavill fans because she has a part in The Witcher, and Henry Cavill was in The Witcher, and Henry Cavill left The Witcher to come back to Superman, and then that didn't happen. And
but why would they be? Why would they? Were they actually pissed at her for joining?
I'd have to imagine so. I think I remember seeing a little bit of wah going on when she was announced as the antagonist of this. But still, I think in terms of, like, again, when we talk about bringing characters from animated to live action, I could see her embodying this role with red hair and all, and being, an antagonist for Wonder Woman down the line somewhere.
Yeah, I love the design for Cersei. Like, it feels very updated. I mean, again, she, she shows a lot of skin at the same time, but like, at the same time, it also feels like, you don't want to mess with her. Like, she will whoop your ass, and and whoop ass she does, because, like, I mean, I didn't expect the episode to end the way it did against her and against Nina and Bride. Like, just
I like that the Bride kicked her in the crotch. That was funny.
I could not stop laughing the first time. I'm like, the Bride doesn't give, like, she gives the zeros of fucks of, like, the length that she has to go to of taking someone down. And again, this is why I'm like, if this is how great they can look in animation, this is why I'm like, when we see them in live action eventually, the level of investment and whatnot it's going to be fun. And of course, we end the episode on the cliffhanger with Nina's bowl gets shot, and, like, I was like, no, my poor Nina, because I'm like, she needs water. And
right.
And of course, it was funny that, like, Brian apologizes, and this is where Nina is like,
go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
that was great.
And that's why I'm like, because, like, I feel like Nina doesn't say that. Like, I feel Nina is a character who doesn't really cuss a lot. She only does it when she's, like, really pissed off, and this is where she was like, bitch, I can't put up with you anymore. Like, this is your nonsense. We came here because you wanted us to come here, and now look what's happening. But it was freaky seeing, like, Bryce's arms, like, turn to, like, what's a balloon
inflatable arm guy. Yeah, that was inflatable balloon type deal that you'd see on top of, like, a car dealership or something. Yeah, something to that effect. The funny thing about this episode is, like, where the other Creature Commandos are, because it takes them a while to get to where Nina and the Bride are.
And why does it take a while for them to get there, Lepa?
Because Rick Flag and Princess Ileana are fucking in the bathroom.
They're getting it on, yeah. Because all she had to do was just pull his underpants once, and it was game over for him. And he was just kind of like, fuck it, let's just do it.
Right. And the whole, like, I even saw James Gunn and Frank Grillo and Maria Balkova talk about this, like, the way they did this, apparently, like, to convey kissing each other. I guess they both, like, made out with their hands, and I was like, if only I could see that footage, I would laugh so hard to be able to witness that.
Well, if you want to increase your Blu-ray and DVD sales, you can put it on the featurettes.
I certainly hope so. But I also think it's funny that, like, one of the guards for the princess walks up and he's like, "Where is Senior Flag or Flag Senior or whatever the fuck?" And Dr. Phosphorus is like, you may want to give him like 30 seconds, maybe more, because he's a little tied up right now." And like, you literally hear them going at it, and the door banging, and, like, GI Robot and Weasel are just like, like, completely oblivious to what the fuck is going on.
I think GI Robot is the one who's, like, probably the most clueless, because he's kind of like, well, if they're not killing Nazis, what are they then doing? I like it. I love that Dr. Foster was, like, trying to, like, be a bro wingman to Rick, because he's kind of like, you want to probably give him a minute, and then, but Rick is, of course, furious. He's like, why did you not get me out sooner? It's like, I was doing.
Phosphorus was like, I was just trying to be a favor. I was trying to be your bro. And he's like, yeah, when you tried to kill me 2 hours ago.
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah, no, this show is so good, and
okay, if we're gonna talk about characters boning,
yes,
Victor Frankenstein and the Bride.
It's creepy. It's like she's fucking her dad, basically.
It's borderline necrophilia too.
Oh my god, you're right.
Yep. And again, Weasel pissing inside the thing. I'm like, okay, yeah, it's James Gunn doing his humorous thing with Weasel. We've seen something like this before. That I was like, all right, no. Just no.
Yeah, we're not supposed to like Victor Frankenstein. This is like, this is a creep who, in the end, he gets what he deserves. So, but it definitely, like, was creepy to kind of watch, because again, now with the necrophilia in my mind, like, that it's not just that, but also like she doesn't realize that by default he is her father in a lot of ways.
Right.
So
and it's like the tragic part is like we even see her when she gets the fucking necklace from Nina. She's like mourning the fact that like, oh, Victor Frankenstein is dead, and it's like,
yeah,
you fucked him. Like, I enjoy this show, okay, but even I have my limits. Yeah, that was one of them. I was like, yep. Don't like this.
The thing that I appreciate is that they're not glorifying it. They're showing like, this girl has gone through a horrible backstory.
Correct.
So because there can be other shows and movies from other creators where like they do try to glorify these disgusting elements.
Right.
And that's all I will say about that. But overall, these two first episodes is such a nice kickoff to the show. My only criticism really for Creature Commandos Season 1, really, the only criticism I have is that these episodes are too short. I felt they should be all 30 minutes long. The benefit of being able to be on Max is that we don't have commercial breaks. We don't have, what we had if this had been on like a broadcast network or something. So I wish, if we get season 2, I hope that each episode is just a little bit longer. But any overall thoughts on these first 2 installments of Creature Commandos Season 1?
I think had they just done the first episode premiere, it would have just been like, well, that was it. That's all we get. I think doing both of these episodes is a smart idea. I think having the introductory episode with all the characters and getting to Pakistan and then having the second episode being so prominent on the bride and showcasing how powerful Cersei is and showing you like, what everyone else is capable of in a certain respect, and kind of setting up this like, oh shit, nobody's kind of safe here in terms of like what can happen. It kind of sets the stage for the next 5 episodes to come. And I would just say that, like, again, my criticism is purely from a, creative standpoint, as it tends to be with James Gunn, but that's totally fine. No super knock. I'm not going to fucking blow up his Threads feed and be like, oh, damn you. Why did you make Victor Frankenstein sleep with the bride? What's the matter with you? Like, no, man, it's a thing. It happened. I'm like, I didn't like it. Whatever. Like, if you like it, fuck, more power to you, I suppose.
No, of course he doesn't like it.
Not him. I'm just saying, like, anyone who's watching the show. If you thought,
if a viewer likes it, then I'm concerned for them.
I would say the same thing about anyone who likes Oswald Cobblepot dressing up his girlfriend like his mom. Same deal.
Oh, I was creeped out too. I'm like, girl, why are you doing this? This ain't gonna end well for you at all.
Did you see what happened last time Oz did that to someone dressed up like his mom? AKA his mom. She's left in a vegetative state. Anyway, no, as far as the Creature Commandos first 2 season premiere, I feel like, again, this is a very wonderful introduction to this series. I think doing the 2 episode model of a drop is becoming typical practice in terms of streaming shows, and I think this is going to be it'll be interesting to see as the weeks go on how people are going to react to certain episodes, because let me tell you, this next one coming up is going to be a blast. It's a hoot. I can't wait. I can't.
We really can't wait. We can't wait for this embargo to be up so we can actually talk to you guys about it. So, but if you guys have thoughts on Creature Commandos episode 1 and 2, you can tweet us at DC Studio Podcast or at Multiverse Color. All the social media links will be in the show notes below. Remember, if you haven't done so already, visit multiversecolor.com for all the latest news and information about the DC Studios TV shows, film, comics, and other projects, along with the latest episodes of every podcast on the DC Podcast Network. And subscribe to our DCT podcast mega feed on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Google Podcasts, and everywhere else you listen to podcasts at. While you're at it, here's up with some 5-star reviews to support us even more. Because listen, like I know y'all been listening to this podcast since we were back when we were just Titans podcast. You're clearly listening for a reason. So if you want to show your support, here's some 5-star reviews. And again, if not from me, do it for Vanessa, do it for Rachel, do it for Keenan, do it for Lip. Because again, I know I'm insufferable to listen to. Like, trust me, like my parents can probably attest to that every once in a while. And so do that. Of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel here on DC Podcast and Multiverse of Color, because it does help us tremendously. We have our own TeePublic store, so if you're interested in DC related merchandise, click on the link in the show notes below and get some awesome gear up to support our network so we can keep producing these awesome podcasts. You can email DC Studios Podcast at dcstudiospodcast@gmail.com for longer listener feedback or other thoughts related to Max/HBO/DC Studio shows. And before we go, where can we find you, Lip, on, promote your projects? Where can they find you outside of DC Studios Podcast?
Well, you can obviously read my reviews on our website, your website, Multiverse of Color.
It's our website. It's not just mine. This wouldn't be possible without everyone's participation. So you can say the O word.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate that. But yeah, you can read my reviews on our website, Multiverse of Color. I'm don't doubt one bit that my reviews for Creature Commandos, the season premiere, as well as the advanced review, will be up by the time this goes up. So be on the lookout for that if you like written form. I'm sure that'll help. You can listen to my podcast, the Eternal Night Podcast. You can catch my YouTube show, Friday Phil, every Friday. Just, again, every other social platform. It's the same @handle, just @unfiltered with 3 Ds and 1 L. Vero, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, you name it. I'm there except for Twitter.
There you go. You can find me at AnimeBike on all social media platforms, including YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, where I stream gaming and publish also some videos here and there. And I'm also the senior writer and an interviewer for ScreenRant.com. You can check out all my Creature Commandos interviews that are gone up, and there might be more coming. I don't know if I can say yet, but there's something in the works. And you can also check out multiverse.com for all the work that I do, Vanessa, Lip, everyone who works so hard to bring you content from these unique perspectives. And you can also check out my podcast, Showrunner Whisperer, at showrunnerwhisperer.com, which is an MOC original, which will be back hopefully very soon with new episodes as we talk to multiple showrunners and go inside their minds, what it means to be a showrunner in today's television landscape. And yeah, that's it. Hope you all enjoy Creature Commandos episode 1 and 2. Also, a big shout out to Julian Bell, who some of the logos you saw in our new opening intro made by our own true one and only Lip, was made by Julian Bell over a year ago, because we knew what the direction was going to be for these two podcasts. So huge shout out to him. Go check out his work in the show notes below. And yeah, we'll be back next week with episode 3, same time, same DC channel. And yeah, so until next time, I'm Andy B.
And I'm Philip.
Philip. There you go. And we'll see you next time here on Creature Commandos Podcast. See ya.